Hello, budget travelers. Welcome to another episode of Budget Traveling for Everyone, the channel where I show you how to explore the world without breaking the bank. Today, I'm going to share with you 20 tips on how to travel to Paris on a budget. Paris is one of the most beautiful and romantic cities in the world, but it can also be very expensive. But don't worry, with some savvy planning and know-how, you can enjoy the city of light without spending a fortune. Let's get started. Tip number 1. Travel during low season. The first tip is to travel during low season, which is generally from November to March. This is when you can find the cheapest flights, trains, hotels, and attractions. You can also avoid the crowds and enjoy a more authentic Parisian experience. Plus, Paris is gorgeous in winter, with festive lights, cozy cafes, and snow-covered rooftops. Tip number 2. Use public transportation. The second tip is to use public transportation to get around the city. Paris has an excellent metro, bus, and tram system that covers all the main sites and neighborhoods. You can buy single tickets or save money by getting a pass, such as the Navigo Pass or the Paris Visit Pass. You can also use the RER trains to reach destinations outside the city, such as Versailles or Disneyland. Tip number 3. Walk or bike. The third tip is to walk or bike as much as possible. Paris is a very walkable city, with many pedestrian zones, bridges, and parks. You can discover hidden gems and enjoy the scenery along the way. You can also rent a bike from one of the many Vélib stations around the city for a cheap and eco-friendly way to explore. Tip number 4. Stay in a hostel or an Airbnb. The fourth tip is to stay in a hostel or an Airbnb instead of a hotel. Hostels are not only cheaper, but also more social and fun. You can meet other travelers, join activities, and get tips from the staff. Some hostels even offer free breakfast, Wi-Fi, and lockers. Airbnb is another great option if you want more privacy and comfort. You can rent a room or an entire apartment from a local host and feel like a Parisian. Tip number 5. Volunteer or couchsurf. The fifth tip is to volunteer or couchsurf for free accommodation. You can use platforms like Worldpackers or Workaway to find opportunities to exchange your skills for a place to stay. You can also use couchsurfing to stay with locals who are willing to host you for free. This is a great way to make friends, learn about the culture, and get insider tips. Tip number 6. Eat like a local. The sixth tip is to eat like a local and avoid touristy restaurants. You can find delicious and affordable food in bakeries, supermarkets, street markets, and ethnic eateries. You can also buy fresh ingredients and cook your own meals if you have access to a kitchen. Some of my favorite cheap eats in Paris are baguette sandwiches, croissants and pastries, crepes, falafel, couscous, cheese and wine. Tip number 7. Drink water from fountains. The seventh tip is to drink water from fountains instead of buying bottled water. Paris has over 800 public drinking fountains where you can fill up your reusable bottle for free. Some of them even dispense sparkling water. You can find them in parks, squares, museums, and metro stations. Just look for the signs that say, "Eau potable, drinking water," or "Eau pétillante, sparkling water." Tip number 8. Enjoy free attractions. The eighth tip is to enjoy free attractions that Paris has to offer. There are so many things you can do and see in Paris without spending a cent. Here are some examples. Visit Notre Dame Cathedral, not the towers, and admire its Gothic architecture. Stroll along the Seine River and watch the boats and street performers. Explore the Louvre Museum, free on the first Sunday of every month from October to March, and see the Mona Lisa. Wander around Montmartre and see the Sacré-Cœur Basilica, the Moulin Rouge, and the Artists' Square. Relax in one of the many beautiful parks, such as Jardin du Luxembourg, Jardin des Tuileries, or Parc des Buttes-Chaumont. Check out the Eiffel Tower, free to see from afar, and watch it sparkle at night. Visit Père Lachaise Cemetery and pay your respects to famous people buried there, such as Jim Morrison, Oscar Wilde, and Edith Piaf. Tip number 9. Take advantage of discounts. The ninth tip is to take advantage of discounts that you may be eligible for. If you are an EU citizen under 26 years old, you can enjoy free admission to many national museums and monuments, such as the Musée d'Orsay, the Centre Pompidou, the Saint-Michel, and the Arc de Triomphe. If you are a student, a teacher, or a senior, you can also get reduced prices at some places. Just remember to bring your ID or proof of status. Tip number 10. Get a museum pass. The 10th tip is to get a museum pass if you are a serial sightseer and want to visit multiple museums and monuments. The Paris Museum Pass covers admission to over 50 sites, including the Louvre, the Musée d'Orsay, the Notre Dame Towers, the Versailles Palace, and more. You can choose from 2, 4, or 6-day passes and skip the lines at most places. You can buy the pass online or at the main branch of the Paris Convention and Visitors Bureau. Tip number 11. Take a free walking tour. The 11th tip is to take a free walking tour to learn more about the history and culture of Paris. There are several companies that offer free tours in different languages and themes, such as Sandmans, Discover Walks, and free tours by foot. You can join a group tour or book a private tour for your own pace and preferences. The tours are tip-based, so you can pay what you think it's worth at the end. Tip number 12. Take a boat cruise on the Seine. The 12th tip is to take a boat cruise on the Seine to see Paris from a different perspective. You can admire the iconic landmarks along the river, such as the Eiffel Tower, the Notre Dame Cathedral, and the Louvre Museum. You can also enjoy the commentary and the music on board. There are several companies that offer boat cruises, such as Bateaux Mouchés, Bateaux Parisians, and Vedettes du Pont Neuf. You can find deals online or buy tickets on site. Tip number 13. Watch a free show. The 13th tip is to watch a free show in Paris and have some fun. There are many venues that offer free entertainment, such as concerts, comedy, theater, and more. You can check out websites like Periscope, Sortir Paris, or Quai Paris for listings and schedules. Some of my favorite places to watch free shows are La Bellevilloise, a cultural center that hosts live music, DJ sets, exhibitions, and more. La Pointe Virgule, a comedy club that features stand-up comedians and improv actors. Shakespeare & Company, a legendary bookstore that organizes readings, talks, and workshops. La Dame de Canton, a Chinese junk boat that serves as a bar and a concert hall. Tip number 14. Go shopping at thrift stores. The 14th tip is to go shopping at thrift stores and find some unique and cheap souvenirs. Paris is known for its fashion and style, but you don't have to spend a lot to get some cool items. You can find vintage clothes, accessories, books, records, and more at thrift stores, flea markets, and charity shops. Some of my favorite places to shop are Kilo Shop, a chain of stores that sells clothes by weight. Freepstar, a store that sells clothes for €1 or less. Boulinier, a store that sells books, CDs, DVDs, and games. Marché aux Puces de Saint-Ouen, the largest flea market in Paris with over 2,000 stalls. Tip number 15. Visit nearby destinations. The 15th tip is to visit nearby destinations that are worth a day trip from Paris. You can use the RER trains or buses to reach places that are not too far away and offer something different from the city. Some of my favorite day trips from Paris are Versailles, the royal palace of Louis XIV with its magnificent gardens and fountains. Disneyland Paris, the magical theme park with rides, shows, and characters. Giverny, the home and gardens of Impressionist painter Claude Monet. Chartres, the medieval town with its stunning cathedral and labyrinth. Tip number 16. Use free Wi-Fi. The 16th tip is to use free Wi-Fi whenever you can and save money on data roaming. Paris has over 400 Wi-Fi hotspots where you can connect for free for up to 2 hours per day. You can find them in parks, libraries, museums, and public buildings. Just look for the signs that say, Paris Wi-Fi, or Wi-Fi gratuit. You can also use apps like Wi-Fi Map or InstaBridge to find passwords for Wi-Fi networks around you. Tip number 17. Get a local SIM card. The 17th tip is to get a local SIM card if you need to use your phone a lot and want to avoid expensive roaming charges. You can buy a prepaid SIM card from one of the main providers, such as Orange, SFR, or Bouygues. You can also buy a SIM card from Lebara or Lycamobile, which offer cheap international calls and texts. You can find SIM cards at airports, train stations, supermarkets, or phone shops. Tip number 18. Join a meetup or a language exchange. The 18th tip is to join a meetup or a language exchange and meet new people in Paris. You can use platforms like Meetup, Couchsurfing, or Conversation Exchange to find events and groups that match your interests and hobbies. You can also practice your French or learn another language with native speakers. This is a great way to make friends, have fun, and learn something new. Tip number 19. Watch out for scams and pickpockets. The 19th tip is to watch out for scams and pickpockets and stay safe in Paris. Paris is generally a safe city, but there are some common scams and tricks that you should be aware of. For example, don't sign any petitions or give money to anyone who claims to be a charity worker or a student. Don't accept any rings, bracelets, roses, or other items from strangers who will then ask you for money. Don't play any street games, such as the shell game or the 3-card Monty, as they are rigged. Don't leave your belongings unattended or carry them in your back pocket or open bag. Don't use unofficial taxis or exchange money on the street. Tip number 20. Have fun and enjoy Paris. The 20th and final tip is to have fun and enjoy Paris. Paris is an amazing city with so much to offer. Don't let the cost or the stress stop you from having a good time. Be flexible, adventurous, and curious. Try new things, talk to locals, and immerse yourself in the culture. And don't forget to take lots of pictures and memories with you. That's it for today's episode of Budget Traveling for Everyone. I hope you enjoyed these 20 tips on how to travel to Paris on a budget. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below about your favorite tip to travel to Paris, and subscribe to my channel for more budget travel tips. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Au revoir.